Isn't it a glorious day and the sun is shining so beautifully? Welcome, Vijay.
One of the questions was, what is the relationship between the Sahasrara and light? Is light coming from the Sahasrara or into the Sahasrara?
Yogis would say it's coming from the Sahasrara. You go to your center at the top of the head, which is called the Sahasrara, you'll see a tremendous amount of light there. It's thought by Kriya Yogis that the light which is stored for the purpose of the body is all mainly stored in the Sahasrara. And you go from physical awareness to spiritual awareness, you see all this light at the top of your head. Glorious light, such brilliance. So it's the major storage place of light and consciousness in the viewpoint of Kriya Yoga.
People were interested in the listening in the ear technique. One person was experiencing sound in the right ear. Another person had the experience of a core of light, like a cylinder around the ear, and they wondered what that really meant.
Consciousness can be experienced as light. So if you're able to be deeply aware anywhere, you can begin to experience that consciousness as light. And so if you go to a wonderful spiritual center like the ear, you can, if you get deeply aware there, you can sense it as light. So that's probably what happened.
Is bliss the other side of light? If you can feel light, would it be bliss?
Yes, likely you'll find all three: love, bliss, and light. And you can experience from either one aspect or the other. And whichever one aspect you go into will reveal the other two, usually.
Similar question, where does light begin? Inside of me or out of me?
Spirit is light. So as a spiritual being, you can be spiritually aware, you can be aware of spirit, or one of its aspects is light, another of its aspects is bliss. So it's spirit. It's the essence of the universe. Light, spirit.
A person was having the experience of energy moving from the third eye to the back of the head, and was a tingling sensation.
Wonderful.
So is this, they want to know if this is energy they're experiencing?
Probably. A play of energy in the nerves. Prana, life force moving in the nerves.
A few people actually said that the neti practice led them to kind of a blank area. So it wasn't as much fun for them as the bliss practices. But they were wondering, should they use both approaches or stick with the one that appeals to them the most?
They're having that much success that they can experience both bliss and that blankness. Either would be wonderful. I'd keep them both going. By that blank, we mean emptiness of objects. In this case, there's a state that yogis are cautioning us not to have, and that's just a mental blankness. Because that could be such a passive state as to entertain astral experience or subconscious experience. However, what we're referring to and what we were doing is getting free of all external objects and subtle inner objects. That kind of practice is alert and aware, not passive, so that's a very good state.
Well, the men in general seem to be experiencing some really beautiful meditations. Everyone kind of noticed that. Some people wondering, well, is it me or is it the retreat? What's going on? But there seemed to be a real consensus that something was happening in people's lives. One student, a new student in particular, mentioned how he so much appreciated this retreat in the past 2 months in yoga, and though he doesn't necessarily think that he's advanced very far, he can see benefits already happening in his life, and he's so appreciative of those teachings. For example, the mind drift, it was really helping him.
Super.
And the meditations were beautiful, and again, we thank you.
My pleasure. It was just wonderful. Here's another secretary making her move here.
One girl said when she had a near-death experience, now she notices people in the light.
Mm-hmm.
Last night, many people were lit up, and this retreat offered her validation that she's okay.
Well, good.
Her question is, how do you prepare the nervous system for higher experiences?
Eat your salads and do the postures. At least eat a nutritious diet. That's very, very important because you're building a better body when you practice yoga. So it's good to have good fuel. It really helps your nerves to be nice and strong. And then the postures so attune the body and help the body-mind relationship work together easily, naturally. The postures are really a great way to train the body to be able to handle higher energy. So those are my two main suggestions. Learn to breathe well. Full yoga breath is great.
She wants to thank you for being an instrument of God, giving us what we need. Another person said, you're one of the most gentle, gave one of the most gentle introductions of the soul, showed us the steadiness of the light in the explanation of the before, during, and after light shining on the stage.
Well, it's a good one. Stage light is a wonderful analogy. Well, I'm very grateful that when I cook a feast, people enjoy eating it. That's wonderful.
Some people had questions about, for example, with the causation. When you're eliminating that, does that mean you can't meditate on God either?
Oh, that's a good question. Not in the normal way do you meditate on God then, because you're getting rid of basically the thoughts in the mind and ultimately the mind. So the normal way of relating goes. But there is a higher way of knowing that takes precedence then. You go into direct knowing. So keep playing with it, but that's true. If you're going to get rid of all objects and all causes and everything that occupies space, then you have to give up the sense of devotee here and God there. That goes too. And in the experience of absolute spirit, there are not those spatial relationships or those cause relationships. That's true. But it's all right. Go ahead and do your regular way. Just now and then take a break and consider this possibility too.
Is that a similar answer to the question, if they are meditating on a blank canvas, does that eliminate God and love?
If you enter into the blank canvas is referring to, that's right. There's just being, that's it. Which is a great flavor to one's existence, to experience pure being. Don't worry, it won't grab hold of you and take you away. It will be like a wonderful vacation. It will just show you something so essential about yourself. It's really worth knowing. Well, once again, what we're trying to eliminate is Maya. We're trying to eliminate a misconception of the universe and have a correct conception of the universe. So the process of eliminating time, space, and causation is that of actually attuning with spirit, the reality out of which all other things come. So we're striving not to be nihilists and wipe everything out. We're striving to get things clear and have the factors that keep us confused temporarily out of the way. But it sounds like that. You have a beginner and they read some of the Gita or some books on this kind of subject. They think, well, you're just trying to eliminate everything. You're trying to eliminate, actually, your delusions, your concepts that keep you from knowing spiritual reality. That's what the goal is. Okay. You are bliss and love and light. Ramakrishna once said in terms of this bliss and love and light, as you experience samadhi and go high in awareness, it's like your body becomes hollow and pure. I'm quoting the words hollow and pure here. It becomes an instrument of light. So your body gets so it can just be so attuned, it just has a lot of light in it, shining forth. Now yogis, from the viewpoint of what we're covering this weekend, look at this world and say that all this conflict everywhere, And this amazing cruelty comes from ignorance of the light. There's so much conflict and cruelty going. If people knew the light, they'd never behave that way. Never. So, in life, yogis very often pray for light. God, bring your light. Give me light. Give me sight of the light. They often pray for light to come and abide in all the troubles. Troubles they're having, troubles that other people are having. They pray for light to come and shine. Reveal the truths and reveal God's presence and reveal love and reveal souls. Yogis are very often praying for God's light to shine. They often pray that God will not only shine on the area, but shine in the area. Like, Lord, reveal thyself. Reveal thyself. Please, don't hide. Show us yourself and your goodness and your will. Please reveal yourself. So very often yogis are involved in seeking the light, which will deal with the cruelty and this awful ignorance that makes people so cruel. And the troubles that come about when people are not aware of the light. Please reveal yourself, Lord. Maya, in a way, is believing in the shadows what is not, rather than the light. See, this world is a product of God and Spirit that we can misconstrue. We can take the shadows for the reality. The shadows can become so important to us, we'd rather deal with the shadows, the products, than with the Creator, with God. Like Ramakrishna used to say, people look at the beautiful garden, they get enthralled with the garden, and don't ask, who's the gardener? Who's this incredible person who's put this garden together? Again and again, Maya is the idea of getting lost in the garden and forgetting about the gardener. So, Maya, or delusion, is believing in the shadows, the things that give us a little bliss instead of the source of all bliss, the things that give us a little happiness instead of the source of all happiness. Getting lost in the parts rather than sensing the whole. So yogis say, Lord, I'm believing in shadows. Give me light. Please help me to switch from shadows to you. May I love you. May I seek you. May I not get haunted by or preoccupied by these shadows. So, hence, yogis are seekers of light. They're seekers of God, seekers of love, and ultimately dwellers in love, dwellers in light. Yogis want the light. So where does a yogi go to find light and experience more light? Well, one is a yoga center. It's a place to find light. And it's wonderful, the light that shines there for people who just come by and want to learn a little yoga. That's just wonderful. Another is scriptures. It's just so beautiful to be able to find a book and open it and receive light. So many things to read, but scriptural books, spiritual books, just full of light that shines on you, and as you make it part of your thoughts, even memorize it, it shines in you. It's wonderful to partake of, assimilate light. Just a couple examples. I mean, they're just, we're so lucky because people who were knowers of the light and servants of the light said things, and they got written down. And so the light they knew is the light we can know. So yogis love the light and spend time reading. It's just so much fun. I'm writing down now, at the suggestion of an attorney, the activities I do. And I find, it's a nice thing to keep a diary again, and I used to have a diary, but I find on my day off, I still do 8 hours of yoga. But I'm just doing a day off in terms of meditation, prayer, and reading. I do about 8 hours a day by God's grace. It's just wonderful. Spend one's time. It's just so much fun. That's a day off. And there's just so much light around. Just anywhere in this book that you've got a lot of light. But here we have just one little place. I just opened this book anywhere because it's just so full. Maharaj, sometimes while practicing japa, chanting, the mind becomes blank. What causes that? And Maharaj replies, Patanjali, the author of the Yoga Sutras, mentioned this as an obstacle to yoga. Meditation is an uninterrupted flow of thought toward God. When meditation ripens, the vision of God comes, and then comes samadhi. The current of bliss continues for a long time after samadhi. Some say it continues throughout one's life, and some yogis have it continue throughout their life. Others are not quite there yet. So here's a beautiful way to understand meditation, for example. Meditation is an uninterrupted flow of thought toward God. And you could just take that into your awareness. Just think about it from time to time. When you go to meditate, you think, meditation is an uninterrupted flow of thought toward God. There's a great way to think of meditation. Uninterrupted flow of thought or awareness. And you go in this, of course, so the thoughts drop away and the awareness continues to flow. But that's just so beautiful. What a wonderful way. What a fresh way to think, That again also is, by sweet happiness and happenstance, referred to this blankness that we were just talking about too. Isn't that nice? And then I just took another one. How can one have peace? Maharaj answers, by loving God and having faith in Him, true faith in Him. One cannot attain peace in the very beginning. One has to cry with a longing heart and be restless for the vision of God. Then slowly comes peace. And it just goes on to describe, how you can have peace. And then the question, how can one have love for God? It's by meditation, devotional practices, prayer, and so on. Can a person realize God living in the world? He says, does anyone live outside the world? It's just full of light. So what yogis do and love to do is receive light. They're not reading words. That's just a little part of it. They're receiving light. They're receiving the Spirit of God by which they may blossom and become people who know the light themselves and live in the light. So it is that yogis tend to read, and it's just one of the thrills of life to read in the Bible often, as a lot of yogis read daily. In the Bible, in the Gospel of Ramakrishna, because it's such a great, great way to understand the light. It's called the Gospel of Ramakrishna, a great book. The Bhagavad Gita and the Yoga Sutras. There are lots of other books too. But a lot of yogis try to read those 4 each day. Bible, Gospel, Gita, Sutras. And to just read a little or a lot. And to read it with an understanding of light. Take the light into your being, into your awareness. For example, I have this lovely, lovely book here from the Bible, Precious Bible Promises, where God promised lovers, followers of God, various wonderful things. And it's all about light. So, just taking it anywhere, I just went to the place that the string was in. And because I just knew there'd be so much. Here's some beautiful light to just take into your being and think about and enjoy. Call to me, and I will answer you, and show you great and mighty things which you do not know. Call to me, and I will answer you, and show you great and mighty things. Jeremiah. And it just goes on. It's just all so good. And so a person could think about that all day and just try to receive what is meant by that. Again, I say to you that if two of you agree on earth concerning anything that they ask, it will be done for them by my Father which is in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, I am there in the midst of them. Or therefore I say to you, whatever things you ask, when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you will have them. Another one, the Lord is near to all who call upon him, to all who call upon him in truth. He will fulfill the desire of those who fear, or fear means respect, those who fear him. He will also hear their cry and save them. Or delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. You know, people again and again are in charge of fulfilling their desires, and it's hard work keeping them all lined up and coordinated and getting them fulfilled one by one. That's hard work, you know. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. Oh, that's just a little bit. So, yogis and devotees of other paths who know about this take in these great sayings from people of light, from people who know the light intimately, and they just take into their being these very, very great rivers of light, streams of light, and live with these streams of light in them, flowing through them. So that's such an important thing to do. You're not just studying and working with your mind to balance all the other things you do with your mind. You're bringing light into your being. You're living in light, living on light. And there's so much. That's why people come on Sunday morning, various other times, to appreciate and grow in the light. Receiving the light, sensing it is light that you're bringing into your being and allowing it to assimilate. You don't let it become part of you. Okay. But I recommend you just try it for a week or two if you haven't. Just each day read a little bit of the Bible, the Gospel, the Sutras, the Gita. Just try it. See if you don't love it. See if you don't feel nurtured by it. There is such a thing as indigestion by trying to understand too much and do too much. Just a little bit from each one, as diet or as constitution allows. When you practice yoga, it's wonderful to do it with the feeling you're bringing into your being more light. When you do the full yoga breath and when you stretch and bend, just letting the light become free to flow where you're releasing tension. There are some postures where you're letting go of the shadows, so the light may come in there and abide. That's where you're stiff. But there's also this beautiful aptitude of having light move in the cobra pose or the bow or the full yoga breath or the Ardha Chandrasana. Just so many where you can just feel that light is coming into that area, filling it, blessing it, along with more blood and along with more nourishment from the physiological side. Just Release the tension, release the turbulence, and let your heart and mind receive more light. Tune in with the giver of light and receive more light. Things yoga helps you to do. Work with the light. Another thing yoga focuses on a great deal is shedding those things that hinder the light. For example, the tense body is hindering the light. So doing the postures. Another thing, yamas and niyamas, about how to work with the light. Yamas refers to a number of things we'll be covering soon. But ahimsa is the first of the yamas, and it means sensing that we're all part of life, that the one life supports and sustains all our lives, and revering the light in others, such as we don't want to harm it or hurt it or block it in another, nor in ourselves. What a wonderful thing to learn, working with the light. Yamas. And then loving the truth. Seeking it, speaking it, sharing it, the truth. Non-stealing. Getting so you don't wish to take what belongs to another. So you respect that God can give each of us what we need. Not living to take and hurt others because of what they have. Non-stealing. Non-sensuality. Seeing people as souls, not just bodies. Non-greed. Letting there be a flow in your life. Not spending all your time just tied to your possessions and your body. But anyway, those are hindrances of the light that are released with understanding. And it just goes on and on and on. So, shed the hindrances of the light. Can you think of any hindrances of light that you've got going? Okay. Well, another thing is people try to cope and deal with life, and they are very often shamed into behaving as little kids by parents and by school. There's this kind of terrorism campaign to make kids behave through shame and guilt. Oh, you're bad, you're very bad. And so what happens is, with a shame-based life, we grow up afraid of being exposed as wrong or as cruel or as not okay. So we have people very often who are adults who are afraid of light because they know they're not okay because of all the shame that they've had drilled into them. So it's a very unfortunate thing. As you become exposed to this spiritual light, it shines on everything. And someone who is able to love the light appreciates that fact. And someone who is afraid of the light will only allow the light to shine under certain circumstances in certain areas and dedicates oneself to blocking the light. Even while saying, oh, I'm on the path. Oh, I love the path. A person who loves the path and gets involved in it now and then has these traumatic times where the light is shining a place we don't want it to shine. Feel, oh, it's showing that I'm mean-spirited, whatever it might be. Inadequate, not okay. So, this is a tough time in the life of most yoga students when they begin to see more clearly their own dark side or their own inadequate or hurtful side. Or they begin to discover their animalistic nature where they're just kind of a cunning animal instead of a full-fledged human being in their eyes. So that's a bump or that's a passage to go through where you begin to discover the light is love. And the light is kind. And the light wants to come and abide in that needing, empty, hurting place. Change things around. It's hard to make that transition, though, when you're afraid of the light and don't want to see so clearly where your shortcomings are, how big they are. So it's a tough time. In mysticism, they call it the terror of the threshold, where you begin to see your dark side and you're scared because it's much bigger and darker than you saw. Or another way is conviction of sin. You become suddenly aware, yeah, you're quite a sinner too. And a whopper has been committed from time to time, you know. And it's really scary. Getting through that, to let the light shine on it, reveal what it means, what it's about, and what is to be done. To reveal that God loves you anyway, and God has provided a means for you to be happy and live in the light. Well, it's an important thing, but you'll find again and again on the path, some people standing beside you when you started are gone. It's just too painful to see one's inadequacy or one's pretensions, as false as they are, or as wacky as they are. So what happens is a yogi has to go through a phase of loving the light and being willing that the light reveal everything, not just the room when it's clean, not just certain rooms either, just all of us, all of me, all. So what happens there is there's a phase of working with the light in which you begin to get to know it and appreciate it and adore it even and trust it. Trust it. Such that you can let the light shine on your shame and appreciate that. It's showing you what is about to be healed, cleared up, overcome, and that it can shine on guilt. One's fears, you can see them very clearly. But you have solutions now. They're not just running your life like tyrants. Ego. The fetters that stand against the light, many of you know. Guilt, greed, pride, or arrogance, and prejudice, fear, and anger are the 6 fetters. Sometimes you read them as the 8 fetters, where they distinguish more clearly on a couple of those. So what happens is you come to a point where even though it's getting to an area that's sensitive and tender, that has some shame or fear in it, you get so you love the light there because you know it's going to do something wonderful. It's going to heal the area or change it into something very beautiful, going to make something very nice out of that. So down the road, after initial fears and ignorance of areas where the light's trying to shine that we don't want it to shine, we develop a positive tropism, if I may use a phrase from the 8th grade. Positive tropism. We just move to the light. We live lives that seek light. Like heat-seeking missiles. We end up enjoying light and going after it. We just love light. Seek it. Enjoy it. We adore the light after a while. And if you just want to see positive tropism, just turn on your light and get a moth. And notice the moth, well, you won't have to get one. It'll probably find it. Just the way an insect can go after that light forever and ever. Just banging its nose and head against that bulb. That's a positive tropism. It's going for the light, just perpetually. And we want to be down the road as dedicated as a moth. become a light seeker and a light lover. So there are some interesting stages. We become interested in a better life, and then we get some light, and it helps us, and that's usually enough yoga for most people. Because then the light starts to shine, and then it shines in areas we don't want it to shine. Whoops, and then we think, well, I've had enough yoga, it's time to do something else. Whoops. But as a result of discovering that the light we were afraid of is actually healing us and blessing us, then we move on to become people who have a tropism for the light. We seek it. We become light seekers. And then, as a result of becoming light seekers, we get to know it better. We become lovers of the light. Lovers of the light become servants of the light. They know that it is the reality, and Maya is shadows. Become servants of the light. Live to serve it. They want to further it, not add to darkness, but serve the light. And they become ultimately dwellers in the light. They live in the light. I'd like you to take a minute to consider, how are you in the light doing if you follow this process? Are you a taster of the light, shall we say? Have you got a positive tropism for the light? Are you a lover of the light, a servant of the light, a dweller in the light? What is your present relationship with light? Just take a few minutes and consider where you stand on this, because it's nice to know how you're doing, how much lies ahead. Go ahead and play. Just think about it, 3-4 minutes. You in the light, your life in the light so far, your life in the light recently, how are you doing? And also, are you a person who's afraid of the light because there's too much pain in there and light shining on that pain? It's difficult to understand the light at that particular time. Okay. Very nice. Very nice. You can evaluate you and the light by the ease of receptivity, how eagerly you appreciate the light, how easily it is that the light can shine anywhere in your subconscious, in your basement, on the painful areas of your history. How easily you welcome the light, how easily you open to the light. Fascinating. Very important thing.